Good morning all, and welcome to the David Barke Appliances RPPFM Junior Footy Show.
And welcome hostess with the mostest, Mitch, how you going?
I'm very good, Pete. I think that might be you, though.
No, that's you, mate. And Noah, how you been? Great to have you all along. We've got a big show this morning, and then we've got a big day. We've got the netball show at 8:30, followed by the senior footy show at 9 o'clock. They've got a bumper show that goes right through till 10:30. Then we've got Neil Williams from 10:30. He's got the locker room, and he's got a heap on his show. And then we're down live at Sorrento with the caviar and the prawns and the whole lot at 2 o'clock for the Sorrento Pines match. So that should be an interesting affair.
Definitely, yeah. Sorrento have almost been rattled a couple of times, or some close matches they've been seeing. Probably not used to that.
Yes, and Mornington last week nearly gave it to them.
Very, very stiff. They played as well as they possibly could. They gave it their all, but unfortunately at the very end.
Were you there, Mitch?
I saw a bit of it, but I wasn't there for the whole thing.
Yeah,
I had
a bit of controversy at the end, so just put it out there. So that's good. Then on today's show, folks, we're going to Noah's Wrap. We're going to go through what he's had a look at with under-11s and under-17s reports. We'll have a chat with him shortly about that. Also got Paul Lonsdale in from the MPJFL, and we'll have a great chat with him on how the MPJFL is going in season 2018. And we'll also have a look at some other junior scores and other leading goal kickers around the nation. And the nation being Mornington and Frankston, so that's real good. And what else we got? And some good news is we're kicking off, as we all know when published, we're kicked off at 7:30 this morning. And next week we're going live to air. We're on Facebook, YouTube, the net, the whole shoot match.
Any platform that you like.
Yes, so we'll have to put some makeup on, maybe take those, might have to take those slimming tablets and...
hopefully no HD.
Yes, could be HD.
Oh, gee, that's not good, is
and
it?
got the big video backdrop, so that's all happening. So Noah, let's get stuck into it. What have you got for us in ground reports and your match report from last week? Over to you, Noah.
So as you know, last weekend was round 13. And despite the weather being its usual dreary old self, many young junior teams played a local game of footy for their club. As we are heading into finals, I did a couple of the younger teams, so then next week I can do some of the older divisions. I also might do a couple later in the show. Through the whole round, the footy was great, but I only have these 3 under-11 sides to report back, and Sporting Pulse provide the following results around the grounds. In the MPJFL Under-11s Navy, Rye defeated South Mornington Yellow 8-8-56 to 1-6-12. Pearsdale beat Murdoch 7-17-59 to 1-1-7. Mount Martha unfortunately overcame Tyre by a large margin 10-1-61 to 0-1-1. And South Mornington Black defeated Red Hill 8-12-60 to 3-5-23. MPJFL Under-11s White, Dramana unfortunately beat Crib Point by a large margin 10-0-60 to 0-0-0. Mount Martha Black overcame Balnarring 10-3-63 to 0 goals, 3 points and a total of 3 altogether. Sorrento defeated Somerville 11 goals, 3 points, 69 altogether to 1 goal, 3 points and 9 altogether. In the FDJFL Under-11s Blue, the EDS sadly beat Langwarrin Blue by a large sum 10-7-67 to 1-1-7. Manliza Blue overcame Karen Patterson Lakes Blue 10-10-70 to 1-4-10. Langwarrin Kangas defeated Seaford 8-14-62 to 0 goals, 2 points and a total of 2 altogether. And lastly, Manliza Manties beat Frankston Dolphins Red 9-4-58 to 1-3-9. And in our game, we played some good defence. It was one of our lower losses of the season. But I got clearance on Wednesday, so I should be back playing tomorrow. So that's all good.
Fantastic. So, and how'd you go at cricket trials?
I did pretty good. We don't know what the final teams are, but they cut it off by a little bit each time. So I think it's going down to 2 teams of 56 in the cut, and then from that it slims down all the way to a 2 teams of, I think it was a 13, I believe.
Fantastic. So, how about we go through some other results and some stats, and let's just have a quick look around. Any other results you got there, Noah?
Yep, I believe I've got I've got for the FDJFL, I've got under 17s Division 1. So we had Bond Beach getting over the EDS, 16-10-97 to 5-7-37. Then we have Manalizer Blue coming through with the goodies over Frankston YCW 1. 16-9-105 to 7-3-45. Then we had Mornington Bulldogs coming with a strong win over Langwarrin, 12-7-79 to 6-8-44. And then I can get the ladder up for the Div 1 there.
Yeah, have a look there.
So we've got Manalizer Blue sitting at the top with 13 wins for the whole season out of 13 played. Then we've got Bond Beach sitting in second with 9 wins, 4 losses. Then we've got Mornington with 7 and 6. Frankston YCW with 7 and 6 as well. Then we've got Idias with 2 and 11. Then we've got Langwarrin at the bottom with 1 and 12.
Fantastic. And I'll just go to MPJFL Girls Under 18s and just look at the ladder there. And on the ladder there for Girls Navy, I see Mount Martha Junior Black sitting on 12 and 1. Then I see Mount Eliza sitting on 10 and 2, so close comp there. Also Ballura sitting on 10 and 3. So very tight at the top with 3 teams in contention. Not to mention Rye in 4th spot. They're on 8 and 4. Followed by Pearcedale Baxter on 8 and 5. But Rye had it looks like a draw there. And then we have Somerville coming in at 6 with 5 and 7. So some really good close matches, some stats.
It's a close league by the sounds of
Yeah,
this.
and we'll have a chat with Paul about that afterwards when we have a chat with him. But goal kickers all around. I mean, Sylvia Repland from Mount Eliza, Amy Ellis from Mount Eliza, Eliza, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, Shinoda from Mount Martha Junior, and Emily Truscott from Rye. So sitting amongst the top goal kickers in that under-18s Girls Navy. Let's have a look at Girls White and in the under-18s comp. And in that we see the ladder posse there, as we see Rosebud sitting 6 and 7, Frankston Rovers sitting at 4 and 8, Seaford sitting at 3 and 8. Coming up behind there is Mount Martha Red on 2 and 10, and Red Hill on 1 and 10. And remember, this is still a developing sport for girls, so it's good they're out there getting there. Some stats coming in there is we've got Casey Raphael from Rosebud up there with the goal kickers, followed by Talia Kitson from Frankston Rovers, Chelsea Neal from Frankston Rovers, and Billy McCartney from Frankston Rovers, all in the top goal kickers there. So very well and even league there, or
Sounds
competition.
like it, yeah.
Any scores you got there, Mitch?
Yeah, I've got the under 17s from the MPJFL.
Fire away.
We've got we had South Mornington play Rosebud. South Mornington getting the goods there, 7-13-55 to Rosebud 4-10-34.
I heard that was a pretty close match, but I read
well, probably closer than what the scores would say. I mean, Rosebud certainly had their opportunities there, kicking 4-10, as did South.
And I heard, Rosebud had before the match, thought they had a real good sniff, but I was reading the South Mornington's President's Report, and good stirring win there by the boys in under 17s.
Yeah, good to see Rosebud putting up a great fight there as well, though, because I think South are on top of that league.
Correct.
And then Pearcedale played Red Hill in another pretty close match. Pearcedale winning 11-5-71 over Red Hill 8-6-54, with Rye having the bye.
Fantastic.
The ladder standings in that one.
Yeah,
South
far away.
Mornington are on the top. They're 8-2, followed by Red Hill 6-4. Pearcedale are 6-5, Rosebud are 5-6, and Rye are 1-9.
No worries, let's have a look at under 13s girls and the ladder there at the moment. And we see Rye sitting on top. Rye have always got some great girl teams, haven't they?
Yeah, I've seen a couple of premierships come out of there in the girls team.
So they're sitting at 12-1 draw, followed by Mount Martha 11-1. Then we have Pearcedale Baxter sitting at third, followed by Ballura, Sorrento, Tyab, Balnarring, and Muraduck. So pretty healthy numbers there, and that's great to see a good cross. How can I say? Let's just go through some season stats, and we see Summer Peters from Pearcedale Baxter on 27. Madison, hold on, I'll just get Madison's last name because it's not coming up on Sporting Polls. Probably Madison Graham, sorry. Madison Graham from Rye sitting on 41 goals. That's pretty handy. Cody May Thomas from Pearcedale Baxter on 21. Lily Broadhurst from Rye on 18. And Felicity Potter from Ballura on 17. So pretty good. But Madison Graham from Rye,
certainly kicking away,
averaging 3.5 a match. So doing pretty good. So right, folks, we're going to take a break, and after the break, we'll be back with Paul Lonsdale from the MPJFL, and we're going to have a chat with him and see what's going on with the MPJFL. Thanks for listening to the David Barke Junior Football Show. We'll be back shortly, right after this break.
We'll be back with more after this break.
Welcome back to the David Barke Appliances Junior Sports Show.
Fantastic, Noah. Man, I love your work, I tell you. Who we got with us today, Noah?
So we are having a chat with Paul Lonsdale, who's in the studio on this chilly Saturday morning.
It is very chilly, and I suppose it's great to have Paul because we had John Anderson here a couple of weeks ago, and it's good to get Paul on and just have a chat about what the footy league's doing down there, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And I suppose yourselves and Mitch I've got some questions for Paul.
Yes.
So how about we give Paul, first of all, welcome along, Paul.
Thanks, Peter. Thanks very much.
It's great to have you along. I suppose, tell us a bit about the Footy League and what's been happening in 2018s, and then we'll let the hounds off the leashes and let Noah and Mitch ask you some questions, probably similar to what we asked John, just to give you a good perspective of what's going on in the Footy League. But first of all, how's the Footy League going?
Footy League's going really well, Pete. Yeah, really well. We're just winding up our interleague campaign. We've really had a really big interleague this year. We've had almost 50 games played.
50, that's like, compared to previous years, that's unheard of. Can you tell us a bit about the games and where you're gone and what's happened?
We headed off to Tasmania in March, way back in March, and played some divisional football over there with their representative sides, which were fantastic games and great hospitality by the Tasmanians. It's really good to get over there and kind of builds a terrific camaraderie with our sides and so on. So we took the girls and 2 boys teams over, and then about 3 weeks later we went to New Zealand with our Anzac campaign on the Anzac weekend, and again we played the AFL New Zealand Academy sides, and some big lads there, I can tell you. I think our 17s were playing 18s. So
and you get to experience the haka?
Yeah, it's a fantastic thing, and you can really feel that haka too when the boys get older. It's a lot deeper, and it really
ground starts to thump, doesn't it?
Yeah, and look, we had an opportunity to play on Westpac Stadium as well over in Wellington and Windy Wellington, and the bigger boys were there. So the AFL New Zealand Academy side, the 21s, played the
All-Australian
21s. Yep. So there were some local lads in that from the Australian side. That was a ripper game, and
so the Lockie Young, is it the Lock? From Summy would have been there or not?
Yep, absolutely. And there were other boys from, I think there was one from Cribby, which I can't remember his name now though.
Bailey Williams, yeah.
Yeah, I think he might have been in that too. But it blew away in the end. I ended up being asked to do the goal umpiring in that match, and my arms were worn out by the end of the day. But so
and where else you gone as well? So tell.
Look, we've been to Katatamite. Have you ever heard of that? Up near Euroa. We played the Pecola League there because they stand outside in the AFL system at all up there. They weren't able to get into that, so we were invited up there to play 14s and 17s interleague, which was terrific. Yarra Rangers, we played against the Yarra Rangers, Eastern League. We've been all over the place.
Any chance you played against Frankston or South East Juniors?
Yeah, we did the traditional interleague weekend there, which was great, which is what it's all about, I suppose. But yeah, we did that.
But that's 50 plus games. That's an enormous effort, and I suppose you wouldn't see many other leagues doing that.
No, I wouldn't think so. Not that larger scale. But look, it's all about developing kids all the way through. We've had hundreds of boys and girls go through this year, and it's just about getting the widest range of kids every opportunity to be, represent themselves and represent the Mornington Peninsula in the football. So it's been fantastic. We've been wrapped. So.
Yep. And I suppose from there we were. How's the season going and progressing? We've got finals coming up. Where are the finals being held at?
Well, the finals will be held at PSL Baxter. But because we've got so many finals now, we've also got reserve ground, which is Tyab, the front and back oval at Tyab. So they'll be held on a Saturday at Tyab, and the Piersdale Baxter will be traditional Sunday games. So
Yep. And any idea how many finals you've got?
We have week 1 and week 2. We've got 28 finals in each week. That's why we've had to go with the 2 ground setup.
Yep.
And then it peters away after that. I think it comes down to 18 on the 3rd week.
And will all grand finals be at Piersdale, or will they be across?
Yeah, they will. So we'll end up
day night.
No night. I don't think. Just mainly day. Yeah.
So you're going to have a big. It'll be a big day out there.
Yeah. Well, it will be. We've had to go to Saturdays in the finals because on for the Tyab ground, because we just physically can't fit the games in with 28 finals. Unless you had a Casey Fields or something like that with 3 ovals or 4 ovals or Mount Eliza, well, yeah, you have to run them at 2 different venues. That's just the way it is.
That's great. I suppose, how all the clubs going, how the clubs reacting. I suppose what's been in the news lately is, and the headlines, we've seen headlines across the paper that the AFL, the MPJFL has decided not to affiliate. I mean, that's Simon McAvoy wrote some headlines. I suppose, how do you react to those at the moment?
Oh, look, we had an agreement in there last December, which we were supposed to sign by the end of December, but we looked through it, and we had some people look at that document, and we made some changes, and then gave it back to AFL South East, and said, look, get back to us when you can, and we'll have another look. But it still hasn't arrived.
So you're still waiting
for it.
Waiting
now,
for the document, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's a fair crack of time.
It is a fair crack of time, for sure. So.
No worries. Folks, you want to ask us some questions? Noah, you got some?
Yeah.
Probably keep them in line what we asked John, so...
Yep, I'm just getting them up now.
Got them filed away there, have you, Noah?
Yeah, they're coming up. Okay.
Fantastic.
So, I play for Murdoch, and we've been struggling with numbers while other teams, like Red Hill, for example, have a 4 or 5 man bench. Have the MPJFL considered strategies to help teams like ours fill a side to maybe even up the playing field a bit more?
Absolutely we have, yes, because it has been a long-standing issue, actually, where you do have even more than 4 or 5 on the bench and other sides struggling to turn up with numbers. So, look, we are attempting to, for lack of a better word, put a cap on certain sides. But like always, you have to start it at the beginning. All right, so there are sides now that are in, say, 14s, 15s and 16s that have large numbers, and other sides that have lower numbers. So we've started this cap with 25 players in the lower grades, because we believe that the lower grades is where you need to start with a slightly larger side, and then because then if you don't have, say, 25 on your list, by the time you get to your 14s and 15s, then you're light on for numbers. So you need to start off with that. So we have put into place that once you reach a certain amount of players, then you need to push those players to another club. So that's what we're trying to do to alleviate that. So everyone has an even playing field anyway.
Yeah. And can you tell me a bit more about the decision to decline the AFL South East offer?
Yeah, well, that's a tricky one, because we as I just said before, we've had the document back at AFL South East now for probably 7 or 8 months, so we haven't had any reply to that. There were quite a few changes involved in it, and realistically what we're trying to do is we are just trying to govern and administer and run our own league, and that's what we're after. We don't think it's broken, so we'd like to continue running it as we are. But obviously AFL South East want to come in and take control of the local area, the Frankston Juniors, which they already have, our league, Southern Juniors, the other leagues out the other side, create one big league, and then I think push everyone around to suit. But we don't want to do that. I think the clubs are very happy where they are. They're settled. They like playing who they're playing, and I think that's the reason why. So we figure it's not broken. Why?
Yeah, I've got a quick question as well before regarding... we were talking about numbers and how you have to play the finals on the 2 different days at the 2 different grounds. I think, obviously, that's particularly with the growth in girls footy, and it's going to most likely continue to grow over the next couple of years as well. How have you coped with the exponential growth this year, and have you thought about strategies over the next couple of years to manage it?
For girls, you mean?
Yeah, like with the grounds and structuring the rounds and games.
Well, look, eventually we're all going to have to start playing night footy a little bit here and there, because the Shire aren't really going to give us any more grounds. There's no more grounds to give us, so we have to make best what we can with what we have. The local governments have started putting lights that are good enough to play under for night football.
There's been a great program going around, hasn't there, Paul?
It has, and that's certainly going to help. So night football is something that's going to come in more and more. It's unfortunate we're in Melbourne, Victoria, where it's a bit chilly some nights, but look, it just takes the burden off. That and girls football is growing fast. It really is. So it's a boom area. So we are just going to have to play more night games.
I suppose it's a good problem to have, isn't it? The large growth in girls footy in particular.
Absolutely.
And, I was also wondering before, like how obviously when I was playing, we didn't have as many opportunities, and it's great to see things like the St Kilda and the Melbourne academies come in, the New Zealand trip, the Tassie trip, and the extended amount of interleague games. How did the Tasmanian trips and New Zealand trips sort of come about in the first place?
Oh, well, I suppose it's just by looking afar, really, just making calls. The New Zealand trip was started, I think it was about 4 years ago now, 3 or 4 years ago, and I think the AFL were going to take that into consideration, but they canned it, if you lack of a better word.
Yeah.
So MPJFL took it over because the New Zealand desperately want kids to go over and play their representative sides. It just keeps them in the loop with AFL. And look, at the moment, AFL have basically cut ties now with AFL New Zealand. They did that about a month ago, just basically and said no more sides will be going over there. So they're ringing us now. We've already fully booked to go back next year to AFL New Zealand.
And going to continue
along, absolutely. Yeah, we think it's a great concept, and New Zealand think it's a great concept. So yeah, but yeah, it's a bit disappointing that that's what's happened, but we'll continue to push that.
Yeah, kudos to you guys for sticking by that and continuing to do it, because I agree. I think it's a great opportunity for not only the kids here but over in New Zealand too, to play against people that are grown up in the game.
Absolutely, and it's for our kids, it'd be a lasting impression. There's something they'll carry with them for all their lives as they went to New Zealand. And look, it incorporates a dawn service as well, which is something a lot of kids probably wouldn't do if they didn't go on this New Zealand trip. So again, it really opens up their eyes.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Noah?
Yep, so you touched a bit on it before about older divisions playing night games, because we know that moving up the age groups, like from 15s onwards, that most kids are starting to get a job. I was just wondering if MPJFL have considered playing more frequent night games on maybe Thursdays or Friday nights, because
you're stealing my thunder, Noah. Keep on going, but you're taking over the lead commentary position, mate.
Yeah, well, because on Sundays they're main working days, as in so I was just wondering about that.
Absolutely. Look, we're looking at everything really to promote football, to get kids, whether it be boys or girls, playing football. So yeah, we're looking at everything to Thursday nights, Friday nights, Saturday nights, whatever's possible to play, to accommodate kids, to keep them in the game. We really want to see them go from Auskick right through their juniors and then into senior ranks. That's what we ideally would like to see happen. So yeah, we certainly will be playing games to accommodate sides to get them playing, because as you said, kids do change from 15, 16 and 17. It's a different setup for those kids, with part-time work and girlfriends and school and things like that. So yeah, we'll be looking at that for sure.
Yep, and you might have heard a couple of weeks ago we had Pat Swain in to talk about the MFL, the school program that he was starting up. Can you tell us a bit on your thoughts on how this could potentially boost participation in some of the junior divisions that can lead up to the 17s, 18s, 19s later on?
So you're going to play but I'm thinking Pat's situation is for more the younger age groups, I believe.
Yeah, I believe he starts at grade 2.
That's right.
And then it's from that onwards, but yeah.
Yeah, well, look, that's anything to get kids playing football, and I think I don't know a great deal about it, but I have spoken to Pat Swain. He taught all of my children at Murdoch for 17 years, so I get on really well with Paddy. But it's about capturing kids that might not normally be playing football, and he creates little teams and so on within the school ground and stuff, and they play, and I think they would play at Murdoch Oval as well as at the school. I think that's how it works.
I'm not quite sure if they play up there. I think that's only for the Lightning Prems. Oh yeah, the Auskicks go up there on the Wednesdays.
Is it?
Yeah, Wednesdays after school they do that. Yeah, they go up there, but yeah. So
but anything to get kids captured into, because they need that entry for kids, and you need to create that entry into AFL football or junior football, because there's lots of other codes out there that are willing to step up to that plate and take those kids. So anything that gets kids engaged that might not normally be, I think it's a fantastic idea. So all kudos is to go to Paddy Swain, because he's a real thinker.
Fantastic, Noah. Look, we're just going to go to a message from our sponsors, and especially David Barke Electrical or Appliances down at Point Nepean Road, Rosebud.
Yep.
Who'll be hopefully selling some great heating this morning. So if you're looking for a heater, pop down and see David Barke and his team. But we'll go to a couple of messages from our sponsors, and I'll be back right after this.
We'll be back with more after this break.
Right, welcome back to the RPPFM David Barke Appliances Junior Sports Show. We're going to continue on our discussion with Paul Lonsdale on issues, or not even issues, great things that are happening around the leagues. Noah's got a couple more questions, so fire away when you're ready, Noah.
Yep, so I've just got 2 here. So I've noticed that there has been a large number of concussions in the games I've watched and played recently. We are still learning a lot about the impact of concussions in junior footy. I personally choose to wear a helmet, and so do many of my teammates. But I was wondering if the MPJFL have considered any ways we could reduce the number of concussions in junior footy.
That's a good question, Noah, because how do you stop head clashes in footy? It's pretty difficult, isn't it,
Yes.
to stop that? So
Especially with young kids just
yes,
trying
the
their
girls.
best.
And the girls as well, because the girls are coming from many instances not a football background, so their ability to tackle or to protect themselves isn't quite, or they don't have the awareness that the boys have that have come through from Auskick and so on. The MPJFL have put into place an accredited tackling expert that comes through the clubs and teaches them how to tackle properly, how to protect their head, and basically look after themselves, similar to what the boys do. So he's an AFL accredited tackling coach, and all the clubs that have employed this fellow, and I don't mean employed as in paid him money, he's done it for his service, have benefited greatly from it, because the last thing you want to see is a player laying flat out on the floor after a head clash. But you're wearing a helmet. You're saying a lot of your team members are wearing a helmet. Does that give you confidence when you wear that helmet?
To be honest, I almost stick my head in before my body, but that's just natural. But to be honest, I just like to play footy. To be honest, if I'm wearing a helmet or I'm not wearing a helmet, I always try my best to get the ball. But with some other players, it kind of gives them a bit more confidence to go in a touch harder. But yeah, that's fair comment. So do you think maybe sometimes it's a confidence thing as well? If you're a little bit hesitant, then I've always thought that if you're a little bit hesitant, then you tend to get more injured. Whereas if you're solely focused on the football, then you seem to get away with a bit. I don't know whether it works that way exactly, but yeah, look, we're certainly working with it. We don't want to see concussions in any football, whether it be junior football or senior football. So the more people like this AFL accredited tackler to come down, then the better it's going to be for us in the long run. So.
And Paul, have you got any data back that you might be reducing knocks or head knocks or anything like that? You looking at that, or?
We always are trying to look at stuff like that, Peter. Yeah, but it's a work in progress. Those sorts of things.
Just start it off. Yeah.
Yeah, you get it started, and then you see how it ends up. So yeah, everything we implement, we always try to get data on it eventually, so you can see how it's trending and so on. But not at the moment. No, we really can't see it. So
far away, Noah.
Yep. So might there be a way for kids to get the full football experience? When I say that, I'm talking about how I have personally noticed, I'm not sure if other people have, but some players play the one position the whole game. Like if they are a really good centre-half forward, they'll play that for the whole game. But then later on, say if they would like if they're asked to play a ruck or a centre position, they don't really have the confidence and they don't really feel like doing it. So I was just wondering if there was some way to be in a position to let.
So a bit of player rotation you're talking about, Noah?
Yeah. So then every kid gets to experience playing in the forward line for a quarter or in the midfield, or even how to have a shot at playing positions that they don't normally play or they're not normally expected to be very good at, like the ruck or full forward or full back or.
Yep. No, I totally agree. The whole idea of junior football is to enjoy it. First of all, you must enjoy football. If you're not enjoying it, then you won't come. So if you are stuck in that one position, then you won't enjoy your football. So I think what we've got to do is go back to the coaches, go back to the clubs and to the coaches, and educate these coaches that it is all development, all the way from under 9s right through to 17s. We're just developing these kids to be better people. Footballers, yes, but better people as well. And by giving them a chance to go all over the ground, it does develop a person. So, but you don't know what a young kid who's 12 years old and you've put him in a back pocket and you think that's where he's going to play, that boy could develop
and become a
sensation
forward.
And become a forward, exactly, and growth spurts and so on. So it changes. So it's really negligence of a coach if he is just going to put a player in one position. It's not good for anybody. So I think it's an education thing with coaches. And we do, at MPJFL, we do hold educational nights for coaches because we see this happening all the time. It's a common occurrence that people are saying, well, can you rotate? So we try to educate coaches. We're holding nights. But yeah, most definitely, you can't pigeonhole a player. You've got to give him a chance to shine. So.
Great question, though. It's fantastic.
Ripper question.
Mitch, you got anything for Paul?
Yeah, I was just wondering, obviously, you had boys play a bit of footy over time as well. When early days starting, that was quite some time ago. Same as myself. But
Not that long ago, Mitch. Not that long ago.
I saw his son kicking
No, I
around
mean-
at Red Hill the other week.
He's in the seniors at Red Hill.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Early days is what I said. That was some time ago.
We're not old sucks, mate.
I mean, it'd be a good 8 years ago or something, wouldn't it?
I don't want to go that far back. My memory
Anyway,
doesn't take me that back.
what were the sort of you're still involved in it. What are the biggest changes that you've seen from that time to now?
Oh, girls football definitely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, girls football. That's been a real eye opener. Just having to accommodate girls football and all the things that it brings to the game. The growth on the Mornington Peninsula, I think it's been enormous. Peter, you're from the Mount Martha area, and you'll have noticed an enormous jump in population down there. There is growth there for sure.
Definitely.
It's just how to harness that and make sure that it's fairly distributed, I suppose.
Yeah.
I think football's just growing really well on the peninsula. I think that's the things I've noticed is it's growing well, and also just the participation rate of people. You hear about the negative sides of football all the time, the ones that have a go over the fence and stuff like that, but you still see all these fantastic parents getting in and volunteering and helping out every week.
That's what we counted last week, didn't we, Noah? That about to run a kids' footy match of 20 kids on each side. For 20 kids, you need around 11 parents, don't you?
Yeah, I
You need
believe
your
that's
coach,
what it was.
Yeah, coach, maybe an assistant, maybe you need a trainer, you need
Runner,
a runner, water person, goal umpire, boundary umpire. And then by the time you put the other people on the park as well, you need double that.
Team manager.
Yeah, team manager, your canteen people.
That's right. And
So-
they're all volunteers too.
Yeah,
so that's a big...
Takes a big effort from all the parents.
It's a big effort. And I suppose while we're on that, Paul, I'd like to ask you the same question I asked John. We've got a document here, the WA Footy Commission document, and understand it's for WA, and WA people have their document, but I don't suppose, I haven't seen anything that's similar for Victoria.
Yep.
And I'd just like to get your thoughts on some of its recommendations and whether they're useful on the Mornington Peninsula. So, and maybe, and we'll say beyond. So one of the first ones is, their first recommendation was trying to get the older kids, and we're talking about under 16s and under 17s, to play footy maybe on a Thursday and a Friday night. So what the WA Footy Commission's saying is, kids have got part-time jobs now, and they work Friday nights, some of them, they work Saturdays, they work Sundays. Is there an opportunity, maybe, and cricket, we see cricket runs on a Friday night for under 16s. Is there an opportunity, we're not saying put it in concrete, but is there an opportunity in the future where maybe we have an under 17s comp or an under 16s comp run on a Friday or a Thursday night?
Absolutely, Pete, because if we can start doing things like that and it keeps people in the game, then we will look at that most definitely, because what you want is participation in football. If you make it too rigid and then kids just drop off because they can't attend,
Can't make it.
then that's not good for footy at all. So look, if that's going to come up and we start playing on a Thursday or Friday night and it gets more kids playing, then my word, we'll
I'm
look at that.
I'm sure at some point in time we're going to have council involvement. We're going to have sets of lights at a number of places, and I just think that it might attract. Yep, we're going to get that element that are going to say, but we have people that drink on a Friday night and all that. But I suppose when we're talking, we've got 20 parents running a footy match for 36 to 40 kids. I'm pretty sure 20 parents can handle people and individuals rolling up with alcohol and
Yeah, look,
and
it's a
lot.
junior footy match though. I don't think that I don't think that'd be a huge
But that's
problem,
all.
really.
But what I'm talking about, Mitch, is in the past that was the excuse.
Yeah.
The excuse was you can't hold a footy match at night because it attracts a rogue element. Now, Paul, I dare to say you've had heaps and heaps and heaps of night matches during the last 1 to 2 years.
Yep.
And I haven't seen anything in the press or anything like that says footy on a Friday night attracts bad people.
No, well, look, we obviously have a zero tolerance with alcohol at junior football matches. Same with on the Mornington Peninsula, we also have zero smoking within the grounds.
Yep.
So it's basically zero tolerance for all of that, really. So
So that rumour, or not that rumour, that myth that's been out
put
there
to bed, I
for
think.
is down, put to bed, controlled by adults that are at the site. And if it's, I'm sure if something like that happened, a call to the police would be made and the council at the same time. And buddy,
you're out of here.
You're out.
Yep.
And we're not starting the footy match until you're gone. So. And that's, I reckon, might attract a lot of people back to, especially the kids, because they got schoolwork at the moment. They've got a number of things going on, and they'd like to get maybe a Sunday is just a chill out day for them, and they don't want to do footy. They just want to rest, do some study. They're in year 11, most of them. Some are in year 12, so good opportunity there. The second one was maybe, and this again just a recommendation, was align the older 16s and 17s draw with the school calendar. So there are some school exams at some times.
Yep.
There's also some school holidays.
Yep.
And maybe at some point just look at running just those two age groups around that group. That's one of their recommendations.
Yeah, well, look, I think they're all terrific recommendations, because what they're trying to do is find ways, as I said before, to get kids playing football. And we've become quite rigid in that junior football is strictly Sunday, although, as you say, it has changed a fair bit this year with night games and so on. So there's no reason why we can't be looking at things like that as well. So if we had sides come up to us and say, well, we've got exams this week, well then, why wouldn't we change it around to suit? Do you know what I mean?
I'm just putting it out there. It's just an idea. The other one that came up in the recommendations was maybe it might be a good idea to have 16 aside.
Well, we've floated this already. We've floated this under 16 aside already because of the numbers. We thought that would be a good idea. And you can play with 16 aside at the moment and under 17s. So,
like the old VFA days where
absolutely.
No wings.
And then you can get a side turn up with 16 players, and then you can get a match happening, and you can play with 14 actually, Peter, if you wanted to, and that's a legitimate game. So if you wanted to come to a game and you had 16, then you could turn around and say, well, we can play with 14 and have 2 on the bench.
Yep. But look, I'm just, at some point in time we have 18 kids that roll up, and they've got to play 18, and a couple of us have put it out there that maybe playing with 16 and 2 on the bench might be easier for them, and they might enjoy it as as under 16s and under 17. That's all we're putting it out there. So maybe the under 16 and the under 17 competition is 16 aside with 2 on the bench.
Yep.
So each kid gets a good run.
Yep.
Because there's more room to cover. But there's 2 on the bench that can be rested for injury.
It's all worth looking at, isn't it? Everything's worth looking at, because we are trying to find the perfect balance between playing football and your social life as well, because that could be a reason why
we're getting a drop off.
There's a drop off from 15s, 16s, and 17s. You know what I mean? We've got to look at all those factors. I mean, the MPJFL at the moment have a subcommittee, which I said before is looking at why there is a drop off there. So 3 of the presidents from the MPJFL have got together and said, well, we'll look at what's going on and try and find increments of why they're going. You know, I mean, I don't think it's going to be just one set thing. There'll be little. Like half a dozen will go because of school, half a dozen will go because of work, half a dozen will go because they're not ready to go up or whatever. So peer pressure.
And this is the point where I get back to, and I'm not pointing the finger at anyone. I think it's an overall problem across the whole of Australia.
Yeah, it is.
But let's just look at our area, because we want our area to be the best, and that's Frankston and Mornington. Yep. We want to be the best in the area. But I can't see anyone, and you just mentioned a plan, but I can't see anyone that has a plan on retaining players or finding out what the data is about retaining players. So For the last 5 or 4 years, we haven't seen any data
Yep.
on kids' numbers.
No.
So I suppose what would be great, and it'd be great from the FDJFL, the SEJ, and the MPJFL is, hey folks, how about you release your data to tell us if kids are leaving in football? I mean, we had John tell us that the player numbers were stagnant. I've just gone through the 2017 season for both FDJFL and MPJFL, and it shows that we've lost sides from boys under 11 right through to boys under 17s, and that's all I'm talking about. I'm not talking under 10s, under 9s. I'm just looking at that age group. It shows a drop off over the combined group of 4 teams. So that's potentially 32, potentially 40, 50, 60 to 80 players.
Yeah.
So not pointing the finger at anyone, but how does all these groups come together and work it out? Because at the moment, we've got under 17s, and those numbers aren't proportionate to go into under 19s.
No, not at the moment. No.
Yeah, so and that's causing a lot of frictions with under 19s because they're all scampering for players
That's
and
right. It's a
doing.
mad rush.
Yep.
That's
So
right. Well, look, that's something that's got to be looked at anyway, Peter. Is once we start seeing something on the 15s, 16s, and 17s, I think one of the ways forward there would be to have like what we had in the past with the Frankston and the Mornington Peninsula was the combined 16s and 17s.
So at some point in time, would the MPJ and the FDJFL, do you think, look at that again?
Absolutely, we're really in favour of it. Absolutely, 100% in favour of going down that track, and we've stated this over and over and over. It just hasn't happened. So, but we would definitely want this to happen. But again, we can't seem to come to an agreement.
So, Paul, I suppose in a past life, myself and yourself were on the under 16s and under 17s combined committee.
Yes.
And we formed a group that looked at joining with the FDJFL. And for whatever reason, that ceased back in a time back in 2 years ago.
Yes.
I suppose, was it tried to get started in 2018?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah,
and
it was.
Do you lead us through the chain of events there? What happened?
Well, we were kind of we wanted obviously for it to go ahead, and we had initial response from Frankston was that they were in the same position, and then we found that the Frankston were losing sides a little bit there and having lower numbers. I think at one stage there we had 8, so I think we ended up getting a phone call from Sean O'Connell and saying that can we bring our 3 under 17 sides we've got across to your league for 1 year. And we said, yep, that would be fine. It would
So is this 2018?
This is 2018.
Yep.
And then, so we said, yeah, that would be fine. And he said it would only be for 1 year, then we'll go back to where we were or see what we can work out.
Yeah.
And then not many days before the start of the season, we got another phone call from Sean O'Connell again saying basically, no, we would like you to bring your under 17s teams across to us. And then we would form a division in the Frankston League. And we said, well, that's not acceptable, you know. So, look, when we started this in 2016, and you were part of that, Peter, as well, with local executive and presidents of Frankston and Mornington Peninsula. And that first year in 2016 was an absolutely terrific comp. And the Senior League have told us that the numbers going to the 19s was the highest they'd ever had. Unfortunately, it's kind of petered out a bit there, but the idea is still a fantastic idea.
So all I can say is it's still afloat?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We just need the two parties to come to some arrangement. What we want to do with it is we're saying that any game that's played in the Nepean, we would administer and put in a time slot and look after, play under our bylaws. Anything that's in the Peninsula division would be under the Frankston setup, and that's all it was. But we can't seem to get an agreement on that at the moment, which is a bit awkward.
Now, in another past life, both yourself and me were involved in a little group called the, shall we call them the Belcombe? What do we call it? The Belcombe Crows, the Belcombe Creek Crows.
There were a few names: the Belcombe Crows, the Belcombe Giants. There were a few names. We were trying to get things going there, weren't we?
Yeah, and I suppose we're seeing that come to life again.
We are with South Mornington.
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, but as you know, the NPNFL aren't going to go with 3 divisions this year. It's going to stay with 2 divisions. So I'm not sure whether the 3rd division will come in a bit further down the track. But at the moment, I think that these other clubs have aligned themselves with other leagues.
Yep. So you're saying that South Mornington might get up and going next year with maybe another football league? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, quite possibly. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's where the communication's going, which will be a shame because, again, look, it'd be great for South Mornington in a way because it might give them an avenue for their 17s to go further up. But it would be nice to keep your kids local, play with local sides. So that's what we're. Whatever it is, whatever happens.
Jeez, exciting news there. So I remember the jumper and sitting down at there. Crikey, that was
with Warren Davies and yourself and me, and look, it was
Mitchell and Trev Quint. He was there down there as well.
Yeah.
And we got the phone call back from MPNFL. No go. This is back in 2014, maybe.
It was a while ago now, but
no deal.
Yeah, no deal.
Yeah. So.
Look, I'm a fan. There's quite a few things in the senior league that I'm actually in agreement with. The relegation and promotion, I think, has been a terrific setup.
Mate, that's been a fantastic year.
Yeah, I think that's really good. I think leaving it at the 22 clubs locally, I think is probably the way they should stay.
Yep.
Don't touch that too much there. If a 3rd division comes along eventually, again, yes, there is an entry point there for people. I reckon that's a good idea.
But I suppose our problem is at the moment, and I call it the number one problem in football on the peninsula, is how do we get kids from 16s and 17s through to 19s and seniors? So if you guys say you got a plan, you got 3 presidents working on it.
Yeah, we have. Yep.
All we'd love to see is some data
Yeah.
and publish some data so the transparency is there that everyone can see. So that's great. Look, we're in a mad rush today, so it's be a busy day. We've got the netball girls coming up next. But it's been a fantastic show, Noah. Those questions have been terrific.
Thank you.
Same as you, Mitch.
Thank you very much, Pete.
Playing footy this week?
We got Frankston YCW.
YC. Good luck, mate.
Thank you.
Game,
Good luck. Paul, thanks for coming in.
Thanks, Peter. Thanks, Noah. Thanks, Mitch.
No
And
worries.
Noah, you might have a question for Paul. You wanted to do something in the end of the year?
I was wondering at the MPJFL, because we have the League Best and Fairest and the League Goal Kicking Awards, I believe there is.
Yep.
I was wondering if I could go down and hopefully get some interviews of some League Best and Fairest winners.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or some League Goal Kicker
On behalf
winners.
of the radio show?
Yeah, to
I'm
put on the
more
radio
than happy
station.
For that. Absolutely, yeah, because we need to promote each other. You need to promote us, and we need to promote you. So, all good.
Thanks to Paul Lonsdale for coming into the studio this morning. Well, that's it for the show today. We'll catch you next Saturday morning at 7:30 when we'll be live on Facebook, YouTube and RPPFM 98.7 and 98.3 on your FM dial. Have a great weekend, folks. Catch you next week.